Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to the Marcus Center. My name is John Hasek. I'm the Director of Programming here at the Marcus Center. I want to thank you all for coming out early to this very special event. We're calling these the Artists Unscripted, which is our new event where we're going to sit down and talk to artists in a really sort of off-the-cuff, sort of inspirational, like, let's just learn about these artists kind of way. And we're going to do these as many times as we can for our jazz series, for our National Geographic series, for our dance series, and all our cultural attractions. As many times as we can do this, we're going to sit down and do this because I think you're going to have a great time tonight. Tonight's conversation, of course, is being led by a very special person. He's our Marcus Center Cultural Ambassador, a man who needs no real introduction other than to say he's the Green Bay Packer all-time leading receiver, Super Bowl champion, Dancing with the Stars champion, New York Times best-selling author, Mr. Donald Driver.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Hello, everyone. You know, it's crazy because the person that I'm about to introduce really doesn't need an introduction. It's like, I guess when John introduced me, it's like, oh yeah, we know who that guy is. We know what he does, right? So this gentleman really doesn't need an introduction, but they gave me all my notes to make sure that I say it all right. So I love him. He is a true legend and an icon, 2-time Oscar nominee, 6-time Grammy Award winner. He's done things with Spike Lee in the film called Malcolm X. I'm gonna let him talk more about this. Welcome to the stage, Mr. Terence Blanchard.
Thank you. Hey, how you guys doing?
So first thing, I got to ask you this, and because I really don't like you at this point.
Come on.
As much as I love him,
yeah.
We lost our first game this year, right? The Packers lost their game.
I started with my.
I knew you was going to do that to me, but I would have to say, being from New Orleans, being a Saints fan,
yes,
your entire life,
yes.
No, you ain't never tried to wear the green and gold.
You know what's funny about that?
Let me hear it.
You know what's funny about that? I played Little League football, right?
Okay.
And that was our colors, green and gold, right? And it was funny because I was like, man, why am I in New Orleans when, Packers colors? This doesn't make any sense to me. That was one time, but never since then. But I got to tell you, when Packers played the Patriots in the Super Bowl, my son was a huge Packer fan, huge. And I didn't get it either. I was like, dude, you're from New Orleans, right? Yeah. But man, I've been admired yours.
Uh-oh.
I used to hate him.
Well, you see, it goes hand in hand, right? It goes hand in hand.
I mean, like, I admire him because I'm like, man, that dude is a serious athlete. Damn it, he's wearing the wrong colors. You know what I mean? Oh my God, yeah.
When did it all start? I've been a fan for many years.
Thank you.
So when did it start for you? I mean, let's go back. I guess a lot of people probably don't know. Let's go back to your childhood. When did it all start for you?
You know what's interesting, man? It started with me when I was a kid, and luckily enough, when I was about 5 years old, I used to go over to my grandmother's house and just sit on the piano and try to, plunk out Batman. You know what I mean? And I grew up in a household full of people who love music, and they were like, if the kid is going to do that, let's get him some lessons. So at least he could play something we can listen to, So I started getting lessons when I was 5 years old, And literally, I was making a joke about it, but I didn't know if I was going to be an athlete or be a musician. And oddly enough, I know this sounds crazy, but my father had just gotten selected to like the All-City Saints team, right? And my father saw this documentary on PBS about kids getting concussions playing football. So he literally just put a kibosh on that. I couldn't go, he wouldn't let me do anything. So music became the focal point for me. And once that happened, there's this thing, and I guess you probably went through it too as an athlete. Once you make a little bit of progress in an area, you get hooked.
Right.
There's a thing about, well, if I did this, maybe I could get better. And it just starts to progress over time. And next thing you know, if you're lucky, in our field, I know in sports it's different because it's a team thing mostly, But for us, when you start running into other kids who have the same interest as you, then you start to really become inspired. So when I met Wynton Branford and Donald Harrison and all those guys, we met when we were in elementary school at a summer music camp at Loyola University. You know, I always tell people it was funny because me and Wynton was the saddest guys in the trumpet section, man. We had the last 2 spots, you know. I said most of our music had rest in it, you know, we didn't do much. We sit there and talk. So what'd you do yesterday, bro? Oh man, I was just chilling while the band is playing. But then once it became serious, then you just wanted to get better. And the cool thing about growing up in New Orleans is that you could actually go out and see live music. So when you would hear great musicians playing, all of these great trumpet players that nobody knows, Emery Thompson, Wallace Davenport, you know, the Brunius brothers, these were all great musicians who never really made it big, but they were like amazing musicians that we would hear. And to get to know them, man, that was like meant the world to us. And when we started meeting these guys, they would just take us under their wing and like tell us what to practice. And so it just started to progress.
So your childhood friends, you talked about women and those guys. How did those guys shape your career to where you are today? Man,
we used to jump in everybody's shit. Each other, man. Literally. I mean, you know, we'd be like, say, bro, you been practicing? You know, that kind of thing.
Right.
Man, why you hanging out, bro? You should be at home practicing. We always used to have this thing about pushing each other. And it got to the point where if you were sitting around doing nothing, you felt nervous. Like you felt like there's something I should be working on or something I should be doing. And it was really interesting because we would all seek out like music camps and, you know, master classes and stuff like that. I remember there's a great jazz musician who passed, his name is Stanley Tarantine. We heard that he was doing a master class in New Orleans. We couldn't find it, and we literally drove all around the city trying to find out where it was. You know, we came in, oh, somebody said it's over at the Y. We drove over there, he wouldn't be there. Oh no, man, it's supposed to be at the CAC. We drive over there. That's how crazy we were trying to get this knowledge, you know? And that relationship still continues to this day. You know, I'll never forget when Wynton played on The Tonight Show. I don't know if you remember that. For the first time, we were all like, you know, like, we were like hyped. Like, wow, that's our boy playing on The Tonight Show. You know, and when Branford started doing things, I remember when he went on the road with Sting, you know, Branford's really funny, man. So he's on the road with Sting, and we're happy for him because, you know, that's our boy, and he's, you know, doing this big show. But I called his house one day, and I got his answering machine, and it says, "Hi, this is Branford Marcella. Sorry I can't be here." But at the sound of the tone, you can leave a message like, "Hey, Branford, you got any Sting tickets?" He said he got a bunch of hang-ups, man.
Oh, God. Nobody wanted to talk to him then.
No. Because everybody was calling for tickets, but, you know, they were too embarrassed to ask. But, you know, for all of us, it's like that. So when my opera went to the Met, man, they all showed up, you know. But that's just the way we've been throughout our life, you know, and it's been a beautiful relationship because we've always inspired each other, you know. And we're the type of friends where, you know, we don't have to talk to each other every day.
Right.
We don't have to see each other every day. But when we do see each other, you wouldn't know that.
Yeah, you've been gone from each other for so long.
Yeah. It's like, and it just falls right back into what it is. My wife, when she would see me in Branford, she would trip out. She goes, "How do you guys do that?" I'm like, "That's just because we're like family. We've been that way."
Yeah.
You know, like their dad, man. Their dad was one of my teachers. You know, and when we lost him, that broke my heart just as much as it broke theirs. You know, because not only was he a teacher, and that's the thing. I think that I feel very fortunate to have. I've had teachers that felt like family.
Right.
They weren't just like people I went to get information from. They were people who played an integral part in my life. Like they would even scold me about character issues.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? It wasn't just about music, you know? And I feel very fortunate to have had that because I've had it from the time that I was 5 when I first started playing piano. My first piano teacher literally lived next door.
Wow.
Dude, I couldn't miss a lesson. You know what I mean? It was a pain in the butt.
Holding you accountable for what you did.
Every weekend. And it was funny. She was next door, but it was actually, she was really behind us because we lived in this double house. And so we had the front and they had the back, man. And then she'd be like, I didn't hear you practicing this week.
So have you guys ever even thought about, because you guys are childhood friends, ever bringing it together to do a show together, like reunite and just create and go on the road?
That's a good question. I mean, no. I mean, but and the reason why.
So why not?
well, I think the reason why is because we're all so different, and we kind of appreciate that. We appreciate the fact that we're all so different. But Branford and myself, we did a tour one time, and man, it was so cool, because we were doing the gigs just to hang after the gig.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like we'd have fun playing, but like we'd be like, all right, bro, what are we going to drink? Okay, let's go. You ready? Man, pack up. Come on, let's go. And we had a really great time doing that. But it's a good idea because the arts high school that we went to, it was called NOCA. It was an acronym for New Orleans Center for the Creative Arts.
Okay.
Every year, at the end of the year, they would have a big gala to try to raise money. But what they would do was they'd bring all of the disciplines together, theater, dance, creative writing, visual arts, and music. And we bring all of those things together to create this one big show, to put on in the city and help raise money. And as a result of it, it created this type of camaraderie between all of us. So when you see Wendell Pierce, you see Branford, you see Harry Connick, we see each other, man, and it's like, that's my family.
Wow.
It's not just another musician, but it's somebody who's like really close to us.
So what, I know you play, I have to tell you, I did a lot of playing instruments in my days, but.
Really? What did you play?
No. I'll say this. Terence, I have them.
Okay.
And I play with them.
What you got? What do you play?
The saxophone.
Get out of here. No kidding.
No kidding.
Right.
My wife bought it for me as a gift.
Nice.
Back in 2008.
Okay. And how does it feel?
It still feels like it's 2008. I'm still trying to figure it out because,
right.
I don't know if you guys out there know, but they said saxophone is one of the hardest instruments,
Dude.
if not the hardest instruments to play.
Dude, well, trumpet players think our shit is hard.
I mean,
yeah.
I was trying to,
No, of course. I got it.
I don't want to give you all the credit.
No, I got it. But listen, it's funny that you're telling me this because one of the things that I always tell my students when I'm talking to them, I use sports metaphors all the time. Because I tell them, I said, listen, when you want to try to get this at the embouchure, when you want to try to get these muscles tight, I say, hey man, it's like a boxer. It's like any athlete doing curls. You have to do those exercises to get the muscle strong so it can do what you need it to do. I said it's kind of like, take a 10-pound, take a 1-pound weight and put it in your hand and hold it. Then take a 10-pound weight and put it in your hand and hold it. And what you're trying to get to the point of being able to hold it there steady without shaking because it's a heavier weight. So that's when your conditioning and your strength starts to get a little better.
Yeah.
So the same thing happens with like playing the saxophone. And what's hard about, you got that reed and then you have that break in the horn where you go from low register to high. I don't understand because I don't play saxophone. I'm just going by what Branford and used to tell me. There's a thing you have to overcome of learning how to go past that break and make it smooth.
Correct.
Right? So that's just about muscle memory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the hard part because when it comes to music, we have this notion of, man, you can just vibe out and feel it, right?
Yeah.
What Charlie Parker used to say, man, it ain't magic, it just seems like it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
So that's the thing. That's one of the reasons why we've always appreciated sports and athletics because we understand what it takes for you to make a catch look as simple as just playing pitch and catch. Right. They don't realize the speed of it, the theory behind it, the whole notion of what's happening with the coverages and all of that stuff you got to deduce in a split second.
Yeah.
Right. It was the same thing for us. So like tonight when we play, one of the things that I love about playing with this band that I have is that, man, you can't sneeze. Because if you sneeze, they'll make music out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, so if you didn't intend to go that road, if you didn't want to go down that road, don't even put it out there, bro. Because if you go, they go, oh, no, I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
Too late. But the thing about that is like the ability to do that takes a lot of practice. And when you hear it, it sounds simple,
Yeah.
you know, to the average listener. You go, oh man, that was great how you guys did that. You don't realize there's some musicians who come in and substitute for the guys in the band, and it doesn't work well because they're not paying attention. You know what I mean? It's like somebody who's not paying attention to an audible that's being called.
They're doing their own thing.
They're doing their own thing and thinking it's hip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And Art Blakey used to tell us you never want to be too hip.
Yeah, exactly.
He said, because he said two hips make an ass. So you never want to be too hip.
Right. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So that's my thing. Like actually played the sax for, and I got a guitar, and I just kind of, I'm a big music fan. You know, like I told you, I love you. But I've always said that one thing I think I struggle with, and a lot of people say that my kids can play the violin, like my daughter and son, Christian and Christina, plays the violin.
Oh, nice.
My youngest daughter, Charity, plays the piano. My wife plays the piano. She plays she played the flute. But for some reason, the dad didn't get the skills to do any of those things, right? So I see them playing and I get excited and like, I should do that.
Right.
I should do that.
Right.
And I'll say this, one of my favorite shows that you were blessed. And I didn't know this. I think you guys have realized this too. In movies, you really think the artist is actually playing? I found out that they're not. So
you talking about Mo Better Blues?
You know I'm talking about Mo Better Blues. Yes.
Yeah.
So Wesley Snipes was playing the saxophone.
Right.
And as a young kid, I was like, oh man, him and Denzel got all the women. Oh, I gotta play one of those machines.
Right.
And everybody was like, why don't you play the trumpet? I'm like, no, that's too easy.
Oh, watch yourself.
Well, that's what they were trying to tell me, right? So I decided that I wanted to follow in.
You wanted to be like Shadow, huh?
So I said, there you go. And I was like, if I can play that and I can get women to look at me in a different way,
wow, okay.
I'm gonna be okay.
Right. How did that work out?
It didn't work out that way. I'm still working on it today. I think I went out and caught a football and it turned out much better. And doing Dance with the Stars made me a little bit better than that. So I did some other things that I thought, that changed the culture, right?
Oh, but I got to tell you a funny story about that. So, with Denzel, man, when we did that movie, Spike was worried about whether the actors were going to look real because there's a movie with Paul Newman called Paris Blues where they don't really look real. You can tell they're not playing, right? So one of the things we figured out is that we needed them to blow. I needed Denzel to actually physically put some air in the horn. So we got him a teacher to help him develop some dexterity in his hand. And literally, people thought that I wrote out music for him. I never wrote out any music for him. I just wrote out the fingerings on a chart, on a piece of paper for each scene. Like 2, 3, then 1, then 0, and that's how that's how he learned how to do that.
Okay.
So in order for him to blow, we needed to stop up the horn so he wouldn't make a lot of noise. So I don't know how these guys figured this out, but they found like just a bolt and they put some tape around it because it still had the center open, and they stuck it up in the bell, right? So Denzel could actually, right? So they're doing one take, and they're doing a club take, and there's a woman sitting out front cracking up. She's like, this is on camera, man. She's cracking up. So Denzel goes, so what's so funny? She said, I can actually hear what's coming out of that horn.
Yeah. Oh wow.
He told her, we can sit your ass in the back.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's funny.
Man, if you can choose, and I don't know if that's the choice because you've done so many great movies. What movie would you say was one that always sticks with you to this day?
Malcolm X, first of all, because that was the second movie I ever done in my life. Oh, thank you. It was the second movie I ever done in my life, and I was terrified. I was terrified because there was so much writing on that movie. Jungle Fever was the first movie that I scored, and then thank you. And then jumping into that, man, it was crazy. The atmosphere was crazy. Spike was getting death threats, and then there's a scene where I'm actually in the film, with Mickey Howard. She plays Billie Holiday, and I'm up on the stage with her. Well, the day that we were shooting that scene, you just go to a set, man, thinking you're just gonna happy to be working on a film, and the security was crazy. It was crazy, just because there were serious death threats, and people were like really fearful for their lives. And I never forget, the security guys, they walked us during the lunch break. They walked us to this restaurant in this one area we were shooting, and and he said, "Listen, okay," because it was just like up the block,
Yeah.
right? And he said, "Listen, when you guys finish, make sure you call me to come back and get you." And I said, "No, man, I'll just walk back." And the dude went off. He said, "Listen, man, don't mess around. You know, you call me and we'll come get you." And that was the first time that I started to think about like the power of what art can do,
Right.
you know, and how it affected people to the point where they would either positively or negatively, you know, how they wanted to hurt other people, you know. And I didn't even think about what Denzel was going through, you know, playing that role. I know he must have gotten it too, you know, because we were just people who were in the film, but he was the star of the film. So that film meant a lot to me. Harriet Tubman was one recently that meant a lot to me just because of that subject, you know. Thank you. Working with Casey Lemons, who's my sister, you know, that was a powerful thing to do, to celebrate the heroics of a woman, you know, which we don't get a chance to do a lot in our business, you know. And then, you know, it's
Another clap for that one.
no, but it's true.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It's true. It's one of the things that, you know, really frustrates me. You know, I'm working on a film right now. Well, they're shooting it right now. It's called The Woman King, starring Viola Davis, and it's going to be about this African woman who actually led a group of female warriors, you know, in Africa. So I'm excited about that because of that reason. And then listen, man, you know, Black Klansman and The Five Bloods. You know, one of the things about those two films that was like really amazing is like working with Spike. We didn't realize this, man, until this journalist asked us this question. He said, "Man, what is it like working together for 30 years?" We're like, 30? Shit.
Time flies.
Right. Like, but one of the things that I loved about those films is that I look at those films and I see all of our work from the years from when we first started.
Yeah.
You know, you see it growing and you see the culmination of it in those two films. So those two films, you know, I'm also really proud of. And there's so many others, man. It's hard for me to even think about naming them because they mean so much to me in different ways because they kind of mark my growth and development along my career.
And they always tell, every single one seems to tell a story. Right?
Exactly, all of them. And that's one of the things, listen, I've been really blessed about, you know, I've been able to work on great stories, you know. I feel very proud about that, you know, because it means a lot to me for us to be able to tell our stories and for us to see ourselves on the screen.
Right.
But not just to see ourselves on the screen, but to see ourselves on the screen the way we see us, you know, which is a huge thing for me.
Explain that, because I think some people probably wouldn't, I mean, if they don't understand it because they don't understand where we come from. Explain that to the crowd.
I'll give you a perfect example. Like, I remember when The Cosby Show was really popular. There were a lot of people who were saying, you know, oh, that's not real. And that frustrated me because I was like, dude, that's my life. My father loved opera. He used to sing and play opera in the house all the time. He was an amateur baritone. You know, all of the men that I knew at my church growing up were doctors and lawyers. You know what I mean? So they were really accomplished people. So, you know, to think that we were always supposed to be relegated to a certain thing was like very frustrating because it was so limiting, you know. But when you see, you see other people get a chance to tell our stories, they tell the breadth of all of it because we're not all the same. You know, we have differences and we have arguments within our community.
Correct.
You know what I mean? That's something that needs to be, you know, exposed and shown to the world too, because that's why these kids are being shot. That's why these kids are getting hurt, because they look at them and they think, oh, he must be whatever it is they think in their mind, not understanding that's not the case.
Right.
You know, I'll never forget. No, thank you, but I'll never forget. You know, after Philando Castile was shot, man, I went to Minneapolis and played at the school where he worked. You know, and one of the things people don't understand is that that school was filled with all different types of kids.
Right.
All different types of kids, and from what I understood from the people who worked there, he was a really sweet dude, man. And it broke my heart when somebody said, I'll never forget it, bro. I get emotional talking about it. Somebody said, Phil was a nice dude. They said Phil. They didn't say Philando.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They said Phil was a nice dude. And the other thing that broke my heart was the principal coming up to me telling me, you know, it was hard for her to talk to the kids when they kept asking, where's Mr. Phil? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's real life.
Correct.
You know, and it's a shame because somebody took his life because he looked at him and saw something else.
Right.
You know, I had written this tune about it called See Me As I Am, because one of the things that, you know, we don't get a chance to talk about is like, okay, I'm in the film industry, but you know, there's been so many times I've gone on interviews for films, and I don't know if you've gone through this in your career, you probably have, where people have a notion about who you are, and you can see the moment in the conversation where they start to realize that you're not what they thought you were. Mm-hmm. And that's like a very frustrating thing.
Yeah.
You know, because you sit there and you say to yourself, what do I have to do? Mm-hmm. Why, and why is the onus on me? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. To open your eyes to the wealth and the variety of who we are as people. So whenever I get a chance to tell those stories and broaden the conversation, I'm always like really happy to do so. You know, also when we did the stories for Red Tails about our soldiers and Miracle at St. Anna, about the people who've given their lives for this country, who don't really get, you know, the credit that they deserve for doing that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we always want to talk to people and say, thank you for our service. Well, there's been people serving this country back during the 54th Infantry, during the Civil War. You know
Way before our time.
Way before
Built the grounds before us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So those are the types of stories I'm really proud to be a part of.
So now a lot of people know that now you're the first African American composer. Mm-hmm. How does that make you feel? Because you think about all the movies that you've done.
Yeah.
Now to be, as an icon and a legend, to be able to do something that no one's been able to do.
Here's the thing. It's not that nobody's been able to.
Okay.
Nobody's been given the opportunity to. And that's the thing that's like weird about the entire thing. You know, I really just would love to celebrate the idea of being the first African American, just on the merits of it by itself. But what's hard is that I know about William Grant Still. Mm-hmm. I know he was rejected 3 times. Mm-hmm. I know about all the other people who didn't even get as far as him.
Right.
Right? So I've been saying, you know, it's a great honor, obviously, but but I'm the first, but I'm not the first qualified. And that's the thing we have to keep it in perspective, you know? When I think it's gonna be shown this weekend, I did an interview for CBS Sunday Morning, I think it's coming up this Sunday, where I'm sitting there talking to this guy and they bring out this ledger. Now granted, I'll give Peter Gelb, the general manager at the Met, all of the credit for trying to open up these doors, because he didn't have to do this. Mm-hmm. But they brought out this ledger, Donald, of all the operas that were rejected, right? Dating back to 1919. And that's where I saw William Grant Still's name 3 times, 1920, 1935, and 1939. And the first one didn't even have comments as to why they rejected it, right? One of the comments was, you know, the music seems to be amateurish, and he doesn't seem to understand what the requirements are for real opera. That pissed me off. Then the next one just it took me over the top, because it was talking about him and I forgot the person who did the libretto. The comment was, these 2 dilettantes don't deserve to have their music presented on the Metropolitan stage. Right?
Right.
And I'm like, wow, 2 dilettantes, really? Here's the other part about the book, and I hope that that's a story in itself, that book. There's women's names in it. Women, composers, that were rejected. And you sit there and you say to yourself, I know the person who probably rejected these entries don't have as much talent as the person who was given the entries.
Right.
You know, and it frustrates you. So, you know, of course, it's a great honor. But I'm gonna tell you what even made it more great was the support.
Right.
People showed up, and people responded in such a way that finally woke them up, you know, because that theater holds 4,000 people. And, you know, being an artist, it's a terrifying notion when you think you got to sell 4,000 tickets for each show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't have that problem. I didn't have to sell any tickets for games. They showed up for some reason.
Man, but let me tell you, when on my side of it, you said you can go out there and get on a rickshaw and run around the neighborhood screaming, "We got an opera tonight." Do whatever we can. But, man, we did it.
Yeah.
For 8 shows.
Awesome.
And the wild part about it, it's not like I'm trying to take credit for it. The thing that I'm trying to get people to understand is that people saw themselves on the stage. Mm-hmm. They saw themselves like the woman, LaTanya Moore, who plays Charles's mother in the opera. Every night when at the end, they would rush me around the backstage to come out for a curtain call. And when I would get to the back, she would be standing there because we all had, you know, our way of getting on the stage. And whenever I got back there, she was in tears. Every time.
Right.
And she told me, she said, "You don't understand." And this is a woman who sang on the Met stage many times.
Right.
She is a veteran, right? She said, "This is the first role I've ever played that I could really relate to."
Wow.
Why is that?
Yeah.
Why? 2020, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? That's the thing that like blows me away. The first day of rehearsal, I walk into this room and there's like 50 black people who can sing opera. 50.
Right.
And you know, Camille Brown, who was the choreographer, she did this movement exercise where she has a drummer, and she makes them dance, and everybody gets loose, and it's really a beautiful thing because it creates instant camaraderie between everybody, right? And then, so right after we did that, before we started rehearsal, man, we just sat in a circle because everybody needed to talk about this. And the conversation was amazing. It was amazing. It was almost like I didn't even have to they took ownership of it.
Right.
Once I showed up there with my little music paper and notes, man, that's all I need to do. I was like, yeah. And then they took it. And the stuff that they were talking about how they wanted their parents to be there, how they wanted their families to see this, because the roles that they're playing is based on the family members that they love and know.
Right.
The young boy, there was this young boy, he had the same name as my grandson. His name is Judah, that's why I remember it. And Judah raised his hand. He was 18 years old. And he said, "Man, I want to thank y'all for educating me and giving me the confidence." He said, "Because when I was in high school, I would sing in front of my class and they would laugh."
Yeah.
And I said, "Bro, well, they can laugh all they want, but you're about to change your whole generation."
Right.
Because they're going to be kids your age who are going to come see you do this and wonder how you did it.
Exactly.
You know, and from that moment on, it took on a life of its own. So the thing that I'm most proud of is that those people were seen.
Yeah.
They were seen in a way that we couldn't have done any type of way. This one journalist asked me a question, and this goes to the crux of the problem with this. He says, "Do you think your opera is going to encourage young African Americans to sing opera?" I went, "Dude, come on."
Right.
They've been singing opera for generations. It's been going back a long time. I said, my dad wanted to be an opera singer, had a beautiful voice, baritone, but knew he would never get a shot, right?
Yeah.
Him and all of his friends, I used to think they were weird. Every Wednesday night, they went over to this man's, Osceola Blanchard. They went over to his house for rehearsals. I'm like, boy, these are some different black people. You know what I mean? They're saying, oh. Like, man, I don't understand.
You're like, that ain't me, huh?
No,
That ain't
I
me.
go to my boys' house, they sitting there, man, they got the TV on, talking about, man, catch it, run. You know what I mean? Not my dad. And my dad be sitting at the piano at the house singing his. When I bring my boys over to the house, I have to listen to the door like this and to see if he's there sitting there singing, you know? If he was sitting there singing, I'd rush him into the back. Say, man, what your dad doing? Don't worry about that, bro. Come on, let's go in the back. But it showed how these people weren't being seen for this journalist to ask me that question.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was so proud of everybody.
Yeah.
Dude, it was so weird being the one that was receiving all of the credit. It was really weird because, man, Camille's choreography was genius.
Yeah.
She did the step show, right? And when these dancers just walked out on the stage, when black people saw them with those leather sweaters on, they knew what was up and they applauded before they started dancing. What does that say about the yearning from an underserved community?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And there were moments that I was proud, there was moments I would just get pissed.
Yeah.
Because I'm sitting there saying to myself, these people they've done everything you've asked. And that's the other thing we had, the first day of the rehearsal. I know I know some of them, and I know they could sing Puccini, they could sing Verdi, they can sing Mahler,
Right.
they can sing Wagner, they can do all of that, right? And they come from the church.
Wow.
And they come from rhythm and blues, and some of them are jazz singers, right? But when they do that, they are told, don't bring that here,
Right.
right? They're literally told that.
Yeah.
So I told them, I said, no, for this opera, bring all of it.
Yeah.
Bring all of it. And then there's this woman named Angel Blue, who's a beautiful soprano. She sings this aria called Peculiar Grace. He once was a boy of peculiar grace, you know, a danger to his race, you know. And she would sing it and she would mix in an operatic voice with a gospel voice. Had everybody in tears. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think it had everybody in tears because they were sitting there like, finally. Finally. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what this whole thing is, this journey has been about. And so I've been saying, you know, I'm the first, but man, I don't want to be the last.
And you know, the thing is, I'll say this, is that you won't be. And the reason why I will say that is that, you know, the Marcus Performing Arts Center has given me the platform to understand that we need more
Yes.
African Americans,
Yes.
brown people in these seats,
Yes.
and on this stage,
And women.
yeah,
And it's not just African American and brown people, it's Asian, women.
Give them
of
all colors.
Dude, it's and the wild part about it, and I don't mean to belabor the point, but it bothers me because that world was beating a dead horse doing the same thing year after year after year and expecting a different result. What does that sound like?
Yeah.
The definition of insanity.
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, you want to, and this is something else my trumpet teacher used to tell me. He used to do the analogy. He said, you're never standing in the same spot.
Never.
Because if you're standing like this, the world is moving forward.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you're actually moving backward.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got to do a lot of work. So I was just proud to be in a position to offer up something that allowed them to do what they do.
Yeah.
You know, and we were all in it together, man. I mean, you know, my name was on it, but bruh, if you'd have been at those rehearsals, you'd have seen the work that went into that. Everybody on that stage and some of the people behind the scenes deserved all the credit as well.
Yeah. This would be the last question. If you could tell a young artist, what final words would you tell that young individual?
Well, the first thing is like learn your craft. You know, don't ever walk into a room not knowing your craft. There are things that you may not know and you could always learn. Don't get me wrong, you know, but in terms of how things are built, how things are structured, the history of what it is you're entering into, know as much about that as you can. And the other part of it too is like, trust your gut.
Yeah.
Trust your gut. You know what feels right, what doesn't feel right. You know, there's sometimes when I first got in the film business, you know, and after we did Malcolm X, man, I had agents calling me wanting to represent me. And this one agency, I was with them, and I rarely tell this story, but I turned down 11 scripts. 11, I counted them, because they were all things that I didn't need to be a part of, that I didn't want to perpetuate.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't work for a while. Man, you're sitting there, you know, it's one of those things you go, yeah, it's still working, shit. You know, it's like, damn. It's not ringing, you know? But after a while, it starts to work itself out, you know? and don't ever feel like you have to chase something to be successful.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're good at your craft, Art Blakey, man, I always quote him so much because a lot of things he used to say to me are gems. And one of the other things he used to say to me all the time, if you have something to offer, the world will be the path to your door. And that stuck with me because, you know, a lot of times, you know, I would hear people, man, I didn't get that, and I've been in New York for 15 years. Well, if you've been in New York for 15 years, not truly contributing, what would you expect?
Right.
You know what I mean? And it's not about trying to gain anything. That's the thing, if I could tell kids, no, have a passion. Follow your passion. Do what it is you really love doing, because then it doesn't feel like work.
Correct.
You just want to get better at it.
Right.
You're trying to figure out, why is it that I'm having problems playing this phrase? Well, let me slow it down. Oh, because my fingering here, right, is not, so let me really work on that and get that muscle to really get accustomed to that. And then next thing you know, you've risen to another level. And it's not like you're sitting there saying, I have to practice to get better.
Right.
You know, it's not that. It's not drudgery. You know, so find a passion, have something that you're passionate about, and do it to the best of your ability. And then next thing you know, you'll find yourself doing things you could never have imagined. I never thought that I would be here in my life. I thought that I was going to be a kid who had a day job, who played music on the weekends because I love playing music. Right. Never thought I'd meet presidents. You know, I was just with our vice president the other night. You know, never thought I'd travel the world. Definitely never thought I'd write an opera that would be on the stage at the Met.
Right.
None of that would never crossed my mind. But, you know, when God gives you a talent, you have to make sure that you take care of that talent.
Exactly.
There's a reason why it was given to you.
Yeah.
You may not be able to see it. It may be beyond your view, you know, but all things in time.
Right.
You know, and you just have to go on faith and understand that we're all here because we have to learn how to celebrate our differences and learn how to love each other. Correct. You know, and then move forward and help us get through this, you know, because it's tough enough just trying to deal with the daily grind. Yeah. So why add to it?
Well, I'll say this, is that I will say this, one thing that I can see is that it was your purpose, right? No. And I tell people all the time is that when you have an amazing purpose, it allows your skills to be so much better. And that's what it was.
Well, look, bro, listen, you know, y'all don't know what this means for me to be sitting here, because I have a love-hate relationship with this dude. You know what I mean? I mean, you know, I love him as an athlete and everything, but damn it when he would catch the ball and be running past my dude with the black and gold on. I'm like, damn, catch him with some, how could you, why, do y'all see him? Y'all know what he does. Yeah, so it's an honor to be here with you because, you know, life's too short, you know, for us to be tripping about things, and for you to be doing this shows another side of your humanity.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? And it's a beautiful thing because I know all too often in your field too, we don't equate that.
Correct.
You know what I mean? And I've never really fully understood that because I know athletes are human just like anybody else. Right. You know, and I feel blessed, man, to be sitting here with the great Donald Driver. Y'all have no idea. I wonder if some of the guys in my band, I know they were trying to come up in here.
Well, I'll say this. Before we leave, this is the last one. I know they're telling me to wrap it up. What can the fans expect tonight?
Oh, man, tonight, man, it's going to be crazy. Okay, so I wanted to do this record, and I'll talk about it tonight on the show too, but I'll just give you a little preview. Y'all get the first bit. Don't tell nobody. Right. Keep it secret. I wanted to do this album, man, because I love Wayne Shorter. Right? Wayne Shorter has meant so much to me, man, I can't even put it into words. If it wasn't for Wayne Shorter, there would be no opera. There would be no me. You know what I'm saying? This dude, I was studying his music from the time that I was in my early 20s. And then when I got a chance to meet him, every time I talked to him, man, it would be like a serious music lesson. It's like he would just drop knowledge on him, you know? And then at a certain point, he wasn't doing too well, you know? And I'm like saying to myself, man, we need to show this man how much, we always wait till people are not here. Yeah. And I said, we need to show this man how much we love him. So I wanted to do this album based around his music. But here's the key part of it. Wayne has always been the dude to encourage us to be ourselves and have our own voice so much that I kept saying he wouldn't want us to just do an album of his music. Right. So what we're doing, what you're going to hear tonight, is a show based around some of his music and some of our music, because we wanted to show him how much he influenced us in our writing. Now, we have a string quartet that's with us. These dudes are crazy. It's the Turtle Island String Quartet. They're gonna play a solo piece tonight just with them. When you hear it, you'll understand what I'm saying. They are literally redefining what a string quartet is. One of the tunes we played in the studio, man, I kept, I told them, I said, listen, bro, so when we get to the end of this tune, if y'all want to play, if y'all want to improv, go ahead. They were like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's see what's happening. We got to that spot, I was like, damn. As soon as they finished, I was like to them, did you get that? Please tell me you got that.
Well,
and
listen.
you'll see it tonight.
Thank you all so much. Thank you. To the man.
Thank you. Hey, man. Wow, this is good to do. Thank you.